Ladies and gentlemen, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Cage Talk. Remember to give this video a like, share it out, let everyone know. Every Thursday, Cage Talk, another fighter and another story. So today, my guest, I have the Cutman. I mean, he's the Cutman of all Cutman. Worked in the UFC, worked in Bellator, did boxing promotions as well, has done movies as well. Here Comes the Boom, the Rocky Balboa, Creed, Creed 1, Creed 2. He's in it, doing his job. We have Jacob Stitch Duran. How you doing, sir?
What's up, my man? It's nice to talk to you on this lazy Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, I could always sit there and talk stories, man. So thanks for having me on.
Hey, no problem. I actually have a little bit of a surprise for you, man. All right. So I'm going to try to let's see if you probably won't remember this because you take pictures with a million people, but I actually have a picture, bam, of you and me.
Oh.
All right. This event was February 22nd of 2014. It was Ronda Rousey versus Sarah McMahon. But you look the same, man. You haven't aged one bit, and I've gained about 25 pounds. But other than that, man.
That's a nice picture, yeah.
Yeah, man.
I would have recognized you, man.
No, absolutely. And I wouldn't, you know what? I wouldn't put it past you. I understand you're
yeah, tons, man. You know, I did a show last night here. I live here in Las Vegas, of course, at the MGM. It's my 26th show with Top Rank for the boxing, you know, and we go into a bubble. So this was our last show here. From here on, we'll be on the road. But this one heavyweight, Billy Conte from Philadelphia, I'm going to be working with him. And he says, "Oh, Stitch, I'm just so excited, man." He goes, "I spoke to you on the phone when I was a little kid," he says. My father, we were at the boardwalk in Atlantic City when Kelly Pavlik was fighting Sergio Martinez. And
wow.
I'm up at the rafters and my dad's talking to you and I get to talk to you and now you're working my corner. You know, so that was kind of nice. And it turned out that his opponent tested positive for COVID, so he was real disappointed. But I told him next time. But you know, those are the moments that I miss while we're in this pandemic.
Yeah, man.
Is to have stories like yours and you know, like this kid here, Billy Conte. Now he's a heavyweight. Yeah. So those are things that are special.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's awesome too. That you have something to look back at, and people again look back and they're like, "Hey, you know, you might not remember this, but look at the picture I have and stuff like that." And then I look at that picture and I get kind of depressed because, again, like you said, you haven't aged a bit, man. You look good, and I'm like, I was so thin back then, man. I wish I didn't have no beard. I had the baby boy, you know, schoolboy look, and now, no, it's different now. 2021.
It's all right, man. You know, once you learn, we all have our own destiny, and you accept it as it comes, but you could actually make your adjustments as you go, you know.
Exactly.
So that's on you.
Yeah,
you know?
No, definitely. I'm gonna right after this is gonna be my motivation. What's up?
Yeah, who would have thought you'd be, you know, master on the radio now and you're getting all these followers. And it's funny when you're saying that at the beginning of the show. I have my granddaughter's like 8 years old, and this is the new generation, you guys, right? And she takes my phone and she steals it. She'll go into another room and she'll record, "Hi, this is so-and-so. Don't forget to press the like button and follow me." And I'm thinking, "Look at this shit. You know, this is a new generation and you're doing the same thing." So she gets that from you guys. You know, that's the new generation.
It's crazy how things work. Again, my 4-year-old son knows how to work my phone better than I do. He's just like you said, they take the phone and they do shit. I'm like, where'd you look that up? How'd you find that? And it's crazy, man. It's a crazy world out there.
Well, you see, I had to ask my wife just to, you know, to learn how to come on the air with you on the screen.
No, but so you got it, though. You got it, though, Stitch. You got it. That's what counts.
And I can wrap hands and I can wear cuts.
Yeah, there we go.
And I kind of handle everything. Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about your background. If no one's ever heard your story of how you got into the business, how did you become a cutman, and if there's any aspirations whatsoever on doing this job that, I mean, you are, again, like I said, the cutman. I mean, you look up cutman, your face is going to be the first one that comes out in the dictionary.
Yeah, that seems to be the case, man. And I'm flattered and I'm honored, and but I got a story. I got a story like nobody, and I'm real proud to share it all the time because it's pretty inspirational. And but I grew up in the Central Valley of California, which is the agricultural capital of the world. And I grew up as a farm worker. I was born and raised in a migrant camp. And my birth certificate is, for the address, it's CBC number 12 for the California Packing Company. So I'm down deep in the roots as you could get. And I worked the fields till I got out of high school and I joined the military. I walked into a college because I always wanted to play baseball, be a professional baseball player. Okay. And Roberto Clemente was my idol for the Pittsburgh Pirates. But I didn't have a car, so I'd go to school with friends, and after school they would go back home, and I'd stay and I'd practice with the team. And I was real naive. I didn't know about grants. I didn't know about scholarships. I just didn't know. So I joined the military in 1972, and I was in the Air Force. And in 1974, they stationed me in Thailand, and I always told myself if I went to the Orient, this was during the end of the Vietnam War, that I wanted to study the martial arts. That's when Bruce Lee was big and all that. MMA was non-existent, So I got to Thailand and I saw my first Muay Thai fight, and a guy threw a kick and hit a guy here and knocked him out. And I said, I'm in. So that whole year, we started off with the Koreans taught the GIs Taekwondo, and then they left, and then the Thais took over and they kind of transitioned us. And getting back to the States, I got into boxing to work on my hands and opened up my own school of kickboxing. And that's where I was a trainer, plus I was a cutman for fighters. And I went all over the world. Scott Coker, that the president of Bellator, known him for 30-something years. And my fighters used to fight for his promotion before he was even Strikeforce. So it goes way back. And I worked with Dennis Alexio, that was the light heavyweight, and cruiserweight champ of the world. Badass dude. So so that's how I learned to be a cutman. And I picked up my family 26 years ago and made them move to Vegas just to follow my dreams. And I had a corporate job, 8 to 5, RJ Reynolds, and I took a lower position, like $25,000 cut in pay, and put my family in a U-Haul, and here I am talking to you.
Wow.
So I always tell people, and like I say, I know it's inspirational just because where I come from. And but we could all. I'm one of the guys that's an example that we could beat the odds. And I always tell people that that line, and I'm sure you've been there, just to be where you're at right now on the mic, is to cross that line. Do I cross that line? And you're scared, and if you don't cross that line, you'll never get there. So that's the story. I've written a couple books, from the fields to the garden, because I grew up as a farm worker in the fields, and my goal was to make it to Madison Square Garden, and I've been there many, many times now for boxing and MMA.
So your first time at the Garden, what day was it and what was it? I think it was boxing promotion, correct?
Yeah, actually, my friend, the first time I was in the Garden was Johnny Tapia was going to fight, and I was working with Johnny Tapia he was from Albuquerque, New Mexico. So my wife and I get to New York, and first time ever in New York, and turns out that Wednesday before the fight, they canceled the fight because the main event was Henry Akiwande was going to fight Evander Holyfield, and Henry Akiwande tested positive for something, then they canceled the fight. But we walked around and went by the Copacabana, and the guys recognized me, and they invited me to the Copacabana, and just through our walks, this one guy meets me, and I think they were drug dealers, man. I think they were doing drugs, but I don't give a shit with that. They took me to Little Italy, and they treated us. And, they had a limo, and they took me around New York, and they dropped me off in front of the Copacabana, and there's people lined up, and the guys recognized me again, and
just got right in.
Oh yeah, it's kind of shit you see on TV, right? So, but that was nice. So that was my first time, but the first time when I actually walked in to work the fights, it was Vladimir Klitschko fought at the Garden, and I can't remember who he fought. To Calvin Brock he fought, I think, and so that was it. But been there for MMA, Bellator, and PFL, and boxing, and now they're filming a documentary based on the book. It's called From the Fields to the Garden, and coincidentally, the way my life works is a week after I signed with this group, and Uriah Faber's one of the producers. A week after, I get a call that Triple G is fighting, of all places, the Garden, and that's the finale of the documentary because I made my goal. But that was such a valuable time that these guys put the team together, and we took a team of the film people to film the Garden, and me being at the Garden and the Garden, Triple G and the Zone, the promoters gave us carte blanche. So we got some great footage, man. And then this pandemic hit, and here I am talking to you, killing time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the pandemic has screwed, I mean, lots of times. But at the same time, it's beneficial, and sometimes it's not. I mean, think about it, if the pandemic never happened, I probably would have never done this podcast, to be honest with you. That's how I kind of started, was just because, I mean, my job, they were letting people work for 1 week, and then the next week I was off for the whole week, and I didn't have anything to do, just deal here, hang out with my kid, and I was like, I can't do this for that. I'm like going nuts. I was like, you know what, let me try to start, a podcast. And, little by little, one thing led to another. I got a fighter. My first fighter was Mark Hunt, had him on. Was a little shaky at first. I mean, it happens. And then the next person was Frank Trigg. I got Frank Trigg on, and then it kind of started doing like almost like a snowball effect. And it was just fighter after fighter. I mean, all the back right here, all those pictures are all the fighters I actually had on my show. And it's been a blast because, again, I'm a fan of the fighters, the people I interview, and then I get to talk to them, which makes it even cooler because I get to hear their stories that I always wanted to hear,
Sure.
The questions I always wanted to ask. So it's really, really, really cool.
Yeah, and that's, and it's meant to be. And the thing about it is you're gifted with a voice. So, and you're good at what you're doing. You're nice and relaxed. I've been through a lot of these, so I know, it's you'll do well, but it was that line you had to cross, right?
Yeah, you have to.
You did.
You
did. And I understand what you're saying because, I'm working in the bubble. I'm doing weekly shows with Top Rank at the MGM here, and the people that serve us, that make our food and all that, and they put like a little chow hall there for us. They only work during that event, and then they're off the rest of the time till they work again. So, there's no consistency.
Yeah.
But, it looks like you're doing some pretty good stuff up there, man. Looks like you enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's the whole key.
Yeah, I love not only talking to fighters and love the sport. I mean, I love talking to people. And again, if you have a story, if you have something to share, man, I'm all ears. I'm a great listener. I mean, again, I had Gary Goodridge, Tom Erickson. I mean, legends of the sport. I mean, they went on, and it was the best. I mean, you can tell, like, in their eyes and stuff when they're explaining stuff. I mean, they miss that. They miss talking to people and explaining, especially, I think, the pandemic in general. Like, people start missing, like, human interaction, man. It's crazy. I mean, it sucks. I mean, it's good, and it sucks that, I mean, I'm talking to you through here. I mean, I obviously would like to talk to you in person, but I mean, this is where it's come down to, as of right now. But yeah, so one thing I wanted to ask you about your movies that you did. I mean,
Crazy.
It was crazy. And again, you did movies that you did your job. You're in a movie that you basically played yourself, which was kind of cool. I mean, you had Here Comes the Boom, Rocky Balboa, and then the Creed movies. How did you? Who picked who? Like, how did that work out? How did you end up getting picked up and stuff like that?
It just happened.
Just happened.
Just happened. When actually I did Play It to the Bone in Ocean's 11.
There we go.
But the way what happened is I was with R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. I told you I worked with them, and the day I was leaving, I'm working with my manager, and I get a call to do an audition for a movie with Woody Harrelson and Antonio Banderas called Play It to the Bone. And I know like this much about acting, so they told me to get my stuff that I would use in a fight and all that. So I had my cornerman jacket. Went and did a 5-minute audition. I guess I got the part, and that was Woody Harrelson's cutman in the movie. Played It to the Bone, and I did Ocean's 11 in the fight scene when they robbed the casino when Lennox Lewis is fighting Vladimir Klitschko. In the corner with Vladimir Klitschko, and it turns out that I started working with him from there on for 12 years.
Nice.
And then I did Balboa, and when they called me to do Balboa, I had already had a championship. I told him no, because I had a championship fight in Paris, France with Fabrice Diozo. And then the week after, I was in London with Audley Harrison, which was the British Olympic gold medalist. And so 2 big fights, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I called my wife at work and told her I couldn't go because I had those fights. And she says, "Are you crazy?" Says, "Rocky's an American icon. You have to do it." And I'm like this. I'm on the computer messing with letting these people in England know about when I want to leave and my pay and all that particular. I deleted it, man. I said, "Look, I hope you understand. Got an offer to be in the Balboa movie." And turns out that they agreed. And it turns out that the fight in France got canceled anyway.
Oh, perfect. So it kind of worked out in your benefit. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I did Kevin James, Here Comes the Boom, which was funny. I'll give you a story. So what happened there is I'm working at UFC at the MGM, and guy wants to take a picture with me, and he says, "Hey, Kevin," it was the director, Frank Carocci, I think he says, "Kevin James wants you to be in a movie." And yeah, I'm a big fan of Kevin James. My wife just loves him. Mm-hmm. And so that was awesome. So we filmed in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Okay.
But we're staying in Boston, right? And every day I'd go, it's like 40 minutes. Boston, I brought Bosch had his Porsche there, so he would always give me a ride up there, right? And we're talking, and when you get a movie, if you say a line, even one line, you get residuals. And the residuals are quite handsome when they start selling it to the networks and the videos. And so you always get a chunk of that money.
Okay.
And so I had to say something, and I'm kind of thinking before I even get there, man. But it was nice because it was time for me to do my scene with Kevin James. He pulls me aside and he says, "Stitch, we got to have you say something." And I'm playing the dumb guy, man. It's, but listen, here's what I tell the fighters, man, is welcome to the UFC. "Oh, man, that's great. Yeah, that's good." So the scene is he gets cut and they call me in and I start working on him and, "Oh, Stitch, man, I can't believe, you're working on me. I'm a big fan of yours. Or what a week I'm having." All that stuff. And I'm working on him and he didn't know I was going to slap him, but I go, "Bam, well, welcome to UFC." And I walk off and everybody started laughing, man. And because I didn't want him to choke, right?
Yeah.
So that was it. It was one take. And
nice.
And then, Creed 1 and Creed 2. And that's been a blessing, and Michael B. Jordan, I spent like 6 weeks with him every day, just wrapping his hands. Him and I, like you and I.
Okay.
And we got a good relationship. And but he told me on this last second, well, the first one, I knighted him as a fighter. About the 5th week, I'm in the dressing room, and I finished wrapping his hands, and I said, "Look, Michael, I'm impressed. You've represented our sport to the highest level, and you have turned out to be, from an actor, now you're a fighter, and I'll give you that claim,
Right.
Which is kind of nice." And then, on the second one, finish up with him. I tell him how proud I am of him and the young generation coming up. And he said, "Stitch, we went from being actors to writers, producers, and directors." And he says, "I'm directing Creed 3, and you're with me as long as you want." I said, "My man," So then this pandemic came. But I just saw, they interviewed him on, I think, Entertainment Tonight or something like that. And he says towards the end of the year. So, yeah, they happen. And to this point, I've been real blessed because I'll tell you, I've never asked for one job.
Wow.
I'm just that proud Mexican guy, that I wish I could. And, I had a chance of working with Floyd Mayweather, but I didn't want to take that, disrespect the other cutman.
Yep.
They just happen. I feel like Sly, I'm telling Stallone, I said, "Man, because we're in Philadelphia for 6 weeks, right? So I'm here in my room. I said, I can't sleep at night. I'm thinking, what am I doing here with you and Michael and this and that?" He goes, "Hey, you earned it." And I thought, you know what? I did. I earned my stripes, and that meant so much coming from him, I look at it and just like you, look at where you'll be at 5 years from now. But I look at life and somebody had to be this chosen one. I just happen to be that guy, so I understand. But I always want to respect people because, you got the Tennessee Titans there and you might be too young, but Randall Cunningham was the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, superstar from Las Vegas. And before I moved to Vegas, and I've been in Vegas 26 years, I was here for a boxing show with Don King. And they had the after fight party and all that. And me and my brothers are talking to Randall Cunningham, and he's a star at that time, but he's from Vegas, right? and he's there at the party, and one of Don King's guy comes up and says, "Hey, Randall, I need to talk to you." And he says, "We're nobody, right?" He says, "Hold on, let me finish talking to these guys." And man, I thought that was so respectful that I always want to
Be
be
like
around
that person. Yeah.
and respect people because it means so much.
Yep.
And he's a pastor here in Las Vegas, and haven't met him, but when I do, I'm going to share that story with him, that you just reinforce that that's the way you need to treat people to be in this position.
Absolutely. I mean, again, usually with everyone I meet or everyone that takes the time to come and talk. I mean, I understand you're a lot busier. You're a lot busier man than I am, but the fact that you took your time, you answered. We talked before. Regardless, any of that's because again, I've had some, I had some really good moments with fighters or people I've come in contact with in the fight game, and then I had some shitty ones where I'm like, damn, like that's how you are. And to be honest, I lost some people some respect because I'm like, damn, like I had an interview that went completely south, and I was just like, damn, that's kind of the person you are. And not, I'm not saying that I need your full attention, but at the same time, I'm trying to coordinate, a schedule for you as well with me as for you. But you're running around, you're on your phone, and you're not really paying attention to me, and then don't take the interview, like and
Yeah, don't disrespect me. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, of
like
course.
I'm just like again, obviously I know you have a lot more things. You're famous, but at the same time, I'm still, I'm a human as well as anyone else. Just like anyone that would want me on their podcast, they're like, oh, I'm like I would do it for someone who has 0 subscribers to 100. It doesn't matter. I mean, as long as you gave me the opportunity to talk and just share a moment and stuff like that. And again, like I said, I've had some moments where I'm like, damn, like this interview
Hey,
sucks. Like,
hey,
it's a learning lesson.
we've all been, I've been through those steps already. Those are the steps that you have to go through. I've been there and I've done, but I know you got to pass beyond that. I tell you, I got stories for every shit you got, man. I'll give you a story on this.
Let's go.
So I was learning to be a cutman. When I got out of the military, I was in the Bay Area,
Yes, sir.
Oakland area. And I went to a boxing show. Marvis Frazier was fighting Bo Christian Smith, and I was doing kickboxing. I had a kickboxing school, and I was learning to be a cutman, and this guy did a nice job on cuts. So after the fight, I went up to him and I said, "Hey, I'm trying to learn to be a cutman. Can you tell me what you did?" He says, "Fuck you." He goes, "I'm taking this to my grave, and you got to learn like me." And he walked away. And I felt about this big, but I said, "I'm never going to be like this man." And I've mentioned this story hundreds of times, but I've never thrown his name out. It's not important. It's a lesson I learned not to be like him. And but I went back to the Bay Area. I worked with Andre Ward, of course, undefeated gold medalist, great fighter. Went back to Oakland because we were from Oakland. And who wants to take a picture? Him and his son. See, he forgot about that moment, but I never did.
Did it.
And that's why to this point, like Swayze, you're talking about, you had Swayze on. I helped their educator to some point. I put videos out and I help cutmen show them how to take care of fighters. And that's, you got to get back. That's what makes our job fun. So I've been there.
Yeah, she was explaining to me, and I think she used almost like almost that same term that you said about taking stuff to the grave. I mean, not her personally, but I just said, she's like, it wasn't. She was like, it wasn't an easy, way to being a cut woman, but at the same time, she's like, she took her bumps and bruises, and she's such a kind and nice person. And I'm like, I need to have Stitch on because again.
Yeah.
The whole aspect of UFC, a lot of people, I mean, obviously, yes, it's very important to have the fighters and stuff, but there's so much that goes around the whole thing to make the whole program. You have the cut man. I had Burt Watson on. Burt Watson was super cool guy. Explained what he did. The announcers. So it's not just the fighters and stuff like that. And you have all these people that work hard to help make the show great and stuff. So to hear your stories and hear, what you've gone through and stuff, I think it's really important. And I think it's really, really cool. And again, what you do, man, what you do is awesome.
Elements, but, and yeah, you said, you're famous and all that. Yeah, okay. People recognize me all over, but I'm still you. See, I still wake up, I still, do everything you do. I'm still that person. It just, I've had these moments, and they're great moments, man.
Yeah.
They're super, super moments.
Yeah.
I got stories like nobody, and with so many fighters, and I'm now with this in the bubble. I'm working with so many young fighters that I never had the chance with, because I always work the high end fights, right, the championship fights and all that. But I'm getting to know these young guys, and they're saying, "Oh, Stitch, you're a legend. Oh, I can't believe you're working with me." Because Top Rank is bringing us, like you're talking about Burt Watson. What Burt Watson and I created when we first started the UFC was what everybody is using now.
Yep.
And now that this pandemic kicked in, Top Rank, because in boxing, you bring your own cutman. In MMA, the promotions are the ones that hire the cutman. And that's what Dana brought me in to be a cutman with Leon Taft. And Burt Watson we had just started. But we set up that formula where in the back room, like Burt, guys do what Burt does in bringing fighters out, checking their weights and all that. And for cutmen, they follow the format that we put together, that I put together, which is you wear gloves, you get that you put your swabs there, you don't put them in your mouth. You get the Vaseline here like an artist, you work on it, get a towel. Those are technique. You don't do the end swab this way, cold direct pressure. Those are things that we established that people are using universal right now. And now that this pandemic kicked in, Top Rank and Oscar De La Hoya and all these other Showtime, they're doing the same thing in the bubble. They're bringing in cutmen. And that's, how I get to meet these young kids. So it's different, another experience, man. It's happening.
Yeah. I mean, throughout your career, again, like you said, there's always learning lessons. And I mean, again, you meet all these new fighters. I mean, explain stuff like that. And I mean, what Burt Watson was saying was correct. I mean, he said that you guys kind of set a standard on what to do. And now he says that every show, whether it's Bellator, whether it's PFL, they have that same standard as the UFC because of what you guys have implemented,
Well, you said it a lot better than I try to explain it. And that's the standard that we put together. Burt and I is national, that's worldwide. And but it's the right thing to do. It's the easiest and the best techniques and things to do to minimize injuries to fighters. Bottom line, everything we do is for the sake of a fighter. Everything.
Definitely. So. Do you talk to any of the MMA fighters still, or there's anyone that you've become really close relationship wise that you still talk to, or there's I mean everyone knows you, but on a personal level, I'm guessing.
Yeah. No, I when I do events, I went to an event maybe before the pandemic kicked in. I think the UFC put together, but it was grappling, wrestling type of stuff. And my daughter invited me, and all these UFC guys were there, guys I hadn't seen, and they all came up to me in the back and just, it was like a big family reunion. And but now whenever I run into them, there's a lot of love that's shared. I've had a lot of great moments with, a lot of about every guy in that era of the UFC, and even now, with so many new other guys. So I've had great moments. Lyoto Machida, anybody. You ask me a story about anybody, I'll give you a story about anyone that's talking about.
All right, let's talk about Forrest Griffin versus Shogun.
It's in my book.
Yeah.
It's the first paragraphs in my book.
Yes, sir.
From the fields to the garden. So, well, it starts off way back. Starts off with the tough reality show.
Yep.
So I'm working. I can't remember who the coach was, but I'm wrapping Forrest. Forrest is the guy I'm taking care of. I've always wrapped his hands and come when they fight in that championship fight. I'm working with Forrest, and it's a great fight. It's a fight that brought the UFC to where it's at now, and both Stephan and Forrest got contracts, but we're standing there waiting for the decision, and for one of Forrest's coaches is next to me, and he says, "Stitch, man, I'm not gay, but I got to give you a kiss, man." He says, "Thanks for taking care of Forrest." So we've had that relationship. So now Forrest is fighting Shogun, which is the first UFC fighter versus a Pride fighter.
Pride fighter, yeah.
When UFC fought Pride, right? And I'm, of course, working with Forrest, but I think Forrest took an elbow, and that cut, that big vein we have right there, that cut, what we call lightning. Whenever you hit and it explodes, it's like a light. It's not a straight cut. It's like a wide type of thing. So they're hard to work on. So at that point, I'm looking and I thought, oh shit, it's pretty bad. And I pull my Avitine, which is a coagulant, my adrenaline chloride, which is a vasoconstrictor. I'm going in with all the heavy weapons, and I'm just working on Forrest and this and that, and Dana's dad is sitting next to me, and downhouse on the right, and we're looking, and it's not bleeding, and it's not bleeding, and finally it comes in. Anyway, Forrest ends up winning the fight, and like a week later, I go to the mail, and there's a letter from Forrest, and he sent me a nice gift certificate to a real nice restaurant. He thanked me for this and that and all that. So that was nice. That was a blessing. That was kind of nice.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, not that you only saved his career, you saved him from that fight, because they could have easily stopped it. And I mean, who would have never, if he would have gotten stopped in that fight, he would have never gotten the title opportunity.
Right.
Hence, he would have never been a light heavyweight champion. So again, that effect, of you doing your job and doing it damn well led someone to being a champion. So that's got to be it's got to feel good, man. You pat yourself on the back on that one.
Yeah, I could say I've made a lot of money for a lot of fighters, or I've kept a lot of fighters in the game where they can make a lot of money, right? And to me, that's my goal. Is not so much. It's never been about the money. It's been about doing it at the highest level.
Yes, sir.
And I always tell people, if you do it for the money, you do it for the wrong reasons. Especially everybody wants to be a cutman, but if you do it for the money, you do it for the wrong reasons. You got to have passion like what you're doing, and these fighters know that, And like I said, I got stories with big name fighters give me a kiss and tell me they love me, and Anderson Silva called me Papi, just Fedor gives me sweats, I just. I'll show you. Hold on, man.
Let me see it.
Let me show you something special. Hold on.
Let's see it.
Where we at here? All right, my man.
All right, let's see.
How many guys? Fedor, right? Everybody knows
Fedor.
Of
course.
How many guys that get a Fedor outfit with their name on it? Look at that.
That's awesome.
Badass.
That is badass.
But I got stories with Fedor, and just, so many, and that's what blows my mind. And, but I tell the guys now that, I've worked so many world title fights that it's not even about the championship fights no more. It's more about the character of the person I'm working with. And that's what makes my story so perfect for me, is that I get to get into their souls, and I understand, and even though these guys are modern day gladiators, deep inside they're babies. And I'm the father that they know that I'm there to take care of. So,
that's awesome, man. That's again
heavy. Yeah.
That's really heavy. And again, like you said, you have story for days, and we'll probably have to definitely get you back on the podcast to talk some more about that. But so I don't want to hold you up. But something that you said that kind of interested me. You said they had different cuts and stuff, like the lightning ball cut is harder to stop and stuff. Do you guys have names for different cuts like that they get, or how's that?
I just the way they're designed.
Just designed.
The way the cuts are designed, But those, whenever there's lightning bolt cuts, because you have the swab, which is straight, so you gotta, put the adrenaline here, and then you gotta move it here. So you gotta get that adrenaline in that little wire that.
Gotcha. That's interesting.
Cold direct pressure.
But anything you want to let the fans know, maybe about yourself or just in general before I let you go, man. Again, it's been a pleasure and an honor to have you on, man. Enjoyed listening to the stories, like I said. You had stories for days.
I got stories, man. It's crazy. Yeah, it's just I've been blessed, and I finally took my first vaccine, so I haven't been traveling. I passed up Triple G fights. I've been doing the bare knuckle fights. I love working those guys. I'm supposed to be in Dallas March 13th, but I wasn't ready to travel because of all this. I'm just real cautious. But I think once I get my second shot, March 7th, you'll see me back on the road again. And hopefully come back and talk some more stories, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Good luck to yourself. You got a good show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Again, next time they're in Dallas, that's where I'm at, man. Come by. We'll hang out.
Yeah. You know how many times I hear that one, bro. But you know what? And no, now let me tell you, I live here in Vegas, right?
Mhm.
And but when I moved to Las Vegas, I said no gambling and no partying. This is my job,
Mhm.
and I got to take my job serious.
Of course.
So when I go to these events, man, people want to take me partying and all that. I said, no. In fact, they want to buy me drinks. I said, man, I don't drink, you know. But it's a job,
Yep.
you know. So, but food, I'll definitely take you up on, man.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I mean, we got some good Mexican food over here, man. I don't know about over there.
I put over here too, bro.
Oh, all right. I mean, hey, West Coast is different from Texas.
Yeah, I know. You guys got the Tex-Mex. Been there too, man.
But again, thank you so much, Stitch, for coming on. I do appreciate it, and can't wait to see you back in the cage and back on Creed 3.
Yeah, let's hope that happens, man. All right, thanks for the call. Huh?
All right, buddy. Have a good one.